What's up, legends? Welcome to Blindside's preseason fantasy analysis. Before we get into the podcast today, I have an important matter to raise with the NRL fans and fantasy community at Blindside. One of my close mates that I grew up with, Jake, his older brother, Luke, has gone through a horrible experience. His wife woke up through the night to attend their baby who was crying and has had an unforeseen cardiac arrest. She's thankfully survived, which is the silver lining. Unfortunately, though, she has received medical treatment. She's been sent back to Australia. She's now in ICU, and for the foreseeable future, she's going to require neurological testing, hopefully go back towards as close to good health as possible. But this is a journey that doesn't really have any endpoint. And Jake's older brother, they have two children, and they are going to need to make ends meet. Jake's older brother now becomes a full-time carer as well as a full-time parent. They've got a GoFundMe page active. I'll be donating some money myself to hopefully get them to achieve their goal, and just wanted to raise awareness with everyone here at Blindside that if you've got a spare couple of dollars, or if you can just share it onto your story, share a post, that would be absolutely amazing, guys, to hopefully help them get close to back on track as possible. It's absolutely insane experience. I only just found out about it yesterday, so I was like, whoa, that is intense, man. That's crazy. Yeah, let's go back to the podcast. We'll talk about the Raiders. How do you think the Raiders are going to go in 2026? I think the loss of Jamal Fogarty is going to hurt them a lot. I think they're going to fall down the ladder. They'll still be in the top 8, but I think that experience is going to hurt them late.
I mean, injecting Sanders into a side, like Fogarty steered the ship there. I think Strange is going to grow a lot in his game. I think he's going to be a pivotal piece for them this season. I can still see them making the 8. They've still got a very strong forward packs. Well, very strong backs. Yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I still see them finishing in the top 4. I think they can get past the Fogarty role. It was a pretty straightforward role. He wasn't incredibly creative. Massive kicks, he had a big boot, and he was basically a distributor. It was very, very rare that you would see him actually create something pretty flashy or incredible, and ultimately a lot of the creativity came from outside backs, not Fogs. So for me, I still think that if Sanders is in quite a similar role and is just quite basic and, puts up decent kicks and is accurate with his kicking, because that's ultimately what they're going to lose from Fogs, I don't foresee them missing out on much.
Well, I hope so, because that would be great news for Sanders. And I own him currently in my heart. So going to their season schedule, it's kind of a weird one for me. They have a bye in round 11, which is the round before the first major bye. So I would say there's no qualms in holding them from the start of the season up until then. They play the first major, first minor, second major, second minor, miss the last major, play the last minor, but have that awkward round 26 bye. So I'm kind of seeing it as you can buy to start the year, hold them over the origin period until the last major bye, and then kind of get rid of them from that point. So you've got 17 rounds of the season, which is more than half the year, where you could obtain Raiders. Unfortunately, there's not that much value here. So I'm not really that interested in too many. Would you guys see it pretty much the same?
Yeah, I see it similarly. I'd also question at this point at the start of the season, who are you getting?
Yeah.
Who are you expecting that you're going to hold? Because hopefully Sanders, for me, I would have flipped much sooner than round 18. Unless he pulls off a Galvin in 2024 and he becomes that sort of player that you just keep holding. Yeah, there's not too many other guys that I'm really looking for, because to start the season, we're needing as much value as possible, and I'm not seeing much of it in this team.
Let's go into Ethan Sanders. I think he's a slam dunk cash option. Starting half, rumor is he's going to be taking on the goal kicking duties. If he does step into the shoes of Jamal Fogarty, he's going to take on a lot of that base in-play game management in terms of kicking. Priced in the high 20s, I'd imagine around 350Ks, high 20s. He has a very, very low ceiling to have to breach to make serious coin. If he comes out, scores a 40 in his first couple of games, that break even is going to be in the teens for weeks, and you could theoretically hold him for the first 8 weeks of the season, make 150K plus on the investment, and then perfect opportunity to pivot him to someone over the origin period. So he's been in my team. I haven't even looked to get rid of him since the start of the year. Start with Moses, Dewey, Sanders. Seems like a great combination. Do you guys see that any different? I think he's one of the better cheapies this year.
Yeah, I'd definitely see it similarly. Any time that he's played halfback or 5'8", he's got a 32 average. He's priced at 27. So at a minimum, you would be hoping that a half playing a fairly central role within one of the best teams in the league, that he would be pushing late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, hopefully. There's tons of money to be made there.
And not to mention that this will be his full first preseason actually in as the starting half. And I think we could probably just graze over this as a potential watch for the future is if he isn't performing, you've got the likes of Kobe Black there. I'm pretty sure he suffered an injury to start the season, so he's had a delayed preseason. But we could see something around the middle of the season of if Ethan Sanders isn't up to scratch, Kobe Black comes in as another base price cheapie for us through the year, which could be the origin period play that we just keep an eye on. I have had no news that is even close to happening. At the moment, Sanders looks like a shoo-in. But Brownie, do you have anything to add into that?
Obviously, he's only played 2 games at halfback, so sample size, there's absolutely stuff all to go off. Each game he's got a try assist. He averages around that 14, 15 tackles, which is all right. Low missed tackle count, which is good. And one game he kicked for 439 metres, and that game he scored a 40. I think playing alongside Strange, you'd expect Sanders to take on majority of the kicking. So I think he's pretty safe to start the season.
Do we see anything in Strange then? Because I made a bold prediction in my very first post for the 2026 fantasy season. You know, when I do that big 20 slide post on Instagram, basically making all these bold calls. One of them, the very last one, was Ethan Strange to be one of the most underrated pods this year. Now, it was a big call. I'm not going to say it's going to happen. He's not in my team and he has not tasted my team at all. But we're all making these calculations that Sanders is going to come in and take over Jamal Fogarty's role. But Strange has been the one that has had the experience for the last couple of years, and he's been building into this partnership alongside Fogarty. Is it theoretical to assume that Strange may actually take on more in-play game-kicking management than he has previously, as opposed to Sanders just coming in and adopting it? And do we see him play more of the attacking, orchestrating role? Like, will he feature more in terms of ball running, try assists on at least one side of the field, as opposed to when him and Fogarty used to sweep constantly in attack? I don't know. It's a risky one. It's not something you'd buy from round one, but it's something I'm definitely keeping eyes on early. Could be 2026 version of Isaiah Katoa.
Well, this is interesting because I've heard some whispers this preseason. Strange might be moving to the right side, similar to Brown. So that takes out the whole aspect that he's going to be playing alongside Hudson Young. Whether that's a bit of a game plan by Ricky Stewart, I'm not sure. Whether to maybe fortify that right side a little bit more. Obviously, who plays on the right side? Halfback. Whether he takes on more game kicking or not, I'm not quite sure. It's hard to say. I think he plays a very similar role to what he did last year.
But I guess that does come down to what they found out in finals footy, that their right side leaked like a sieve. It was really, really quite terrible. Yeah, and I say that with all due respect. Matty Timoko is one of my boys.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, he was here at school, so I coached him, taught him. I have a massive soft spot for him, and he even came out at the end of last year talking about how we need to step up our game. We need to really work on our defence over the off-season and really boost that. So I wouldn't be surprised that they'll put in the hard yards and work real hard and do a good job. But yeah, I don't see him kicking. Like, when you watch him all of last year through a lot of his kicks, that was often where things would go wrong. I don't see him doing a massive amount of kicks. And I think that is why they are looking at starting with Sanders, because he's got that ability to kick and to manage, where I don't see that anywhere near as much as Strange. And I can absolutely see Strange still being that very attacking, running, defence-breaking half, way more than Sanders will be. And whether or not that's in a 7 or a 6 jersey, I don't actually think it matters which number they wear. I still think you're going to see that same type of style, where even if Strange is wearing 7, he'll still be a running 6. From my perspective, I don't think that matters too much, because he's still going to get the ball. I think where it matters the more is if you were looking at Matty Timoko as a centre outside of Strange, you would worry, because Strange doesn't always pass the ball. He's quite a shocker. And if you remember what happened last year, with Tamale, he really just didn't ever get front foot ball. He wouldn't get the ball early. He didn't get given space. And most of his meters and tackle breaks and all of that was through broken play. When it was structured play, he just about never got the ball. And so my concern would be whoever is playing outside of Strange is likely not to see much quality ball.
Okay, that's interesting. The defensive take does change my interpretation of that right side change a lot because Ethan Strange is a phenomenal defender. And I'm pretty sure Matt Timoko had the shoulder issue last year. Or was it the year prior? I can't remember where he just kept having this shoulder issue where his shoulder would pop.
That was last year. He had a shoulder injury, yeah.
Yeah, and he just kept playing through it.
Yeah.
So that can also definitely impact defensive structure. Which kind of moves me into the rest of the backline then, because I did have strong, not interest, I wouldn't say, but I've been looking into KO Weeks as a potential option, thinking he's played in the halves before. Him and Strange partnered each other when Fogarty was injured. Does he take on more in-play kicking duties from the fullback position? It's not something we have seen the Raiders do before, so it would be very new. You'd have to see it to buy into it. But KO Weeks is under 500k. They've lost Jamal Fogarty, but if Sanders can come in and replace that role, do we see any attacking upside there in a winger fullback market that's tough? Again, Farlongo, Jai Gray, Selwyn Cobbo, I have these guys like above. Ultra Potty, very cheap. Yeah, best time to take the punt would be from round 1 if you want to do it because it's only one trade to get rid of him. So have you guys looked into KO Weeks at all?
I haven't. He was just way too inconsistent last year. He'd have like a massive game, and then the next game he'd lead up with a 20 or a 30. So it's like, I don't want that in my side.
But picking up on your kicking with Weeks, though, he did actually have a section of time where he was obviously playing in the halves. And I remember this. I thought Strange was going to take over. This was in 2024. In the end, Weeks was the one that did more of the kicking. In like round 13, he scored a 68, having kicked 419 meters. Then he kicked just under 300 meters for a 51 in the next round. And then he kicked 607 meters for a 64. Then he kicked 426 for a 57 and then 423 for a 42. I wouldn't be surprised if, and in 2 of those games, actually it might have been 3 of those games were padded by tries. But that's kind of what you see even when Sharp's playing for the Knights. He's scoring more tries when he's got his hands on the ball a whole lot more, which we could see with Weeks if he is kind of running a bit more of a playmaking fullback. But I would caution us because what does it seem and sound more and more like that we've been bagging most of this last 2 years is it's starting to look and sound similar to the Knights. And it doesn't work that well when you've got basically 3 playmakers who all have great ability to run and create. But if you don't have someone who can just steer the ship like Fogarty has always been able to do, and then you can have a little bit more of attacking through Strange left or right, what doesn't really matter, and Weeks sweeping around the back.
When KO Weeks was a halfback, he was dominant. Like everyone owned him. He was base price, shot up. I think he came from Manly and joined the Raiders. Maybe I might be wrong. And then just shot to the moon as a cheapie one year. Him and Strange. Pretty sure Strange had centre DPP at that point. Yeah. So with him at fullback, he's actually never kicked over 100 meters in a game, KO Weeks, when playing in that position. So me speculating that could he potentially get involved in the kicking duties, there's evidence to suggest that he is a dominant kicker if he gets the opportunity, but we've never seen him in a kicking position from fullback. So it's not something you'd buy from round 1 in the hopes that you're going to see. It's something that you'd buy into if you start to see it. Firm avoid for me, but someone I just wanted to breeze over.
Some other news I wanted to bring up, guys. One of the players, I saw it on an article yesterday, Nicholson and Young are going to be starting second rowers. So what that means for Hosking, I'm not sure. But I owned Matty Nicholson, was it last year or the year before?
Last year. Everyone owned him last year.
Yeah, last year. Man, he did so well. It is true that Strange is moving to that right side, partnering up with Nicholson. I think there's a bit of a pod play there to maybe consider Nicholson. Obviously, there is value elsewhere in other second rowers. I honestly don't mind the shout.
I don't mind it. At 680k, it's super steep for round 1. Yeah. But that said, if this combination takes time to gel and they've got a new spine. There's no cutting it. You can't say it any differently. Ethan Sanders hasn't played in this spine, even though he's at the club. It's going to take time to form these new combinations. And if they do swap sides, well, then the whole entire structure is going to take time to form, which could indicate that Matty Nicholson is in for an early season price drop. If he gets low enough and the Raiders start to find some form, someone you could probably keep on your watch list as like a little fringe watch and potentially great Origin coverage. He's a Pommy. Well, does this all change now? Can Pommies play Origin? Like, I'm not too sure. Get rid of Herbie Dunwood now? Like, what's going on?
Then Brimson and Radley are playing, so
yeah, but that's because they were teenagers in Aussie. You got to be
correct. Yeah, I don't think Nicholson was playing footy in Queensland on New South Wales.
Before 13.
Oh, well, who knows? Maybe some.
Before 14. Sorry, so you have to be 13 and down.
Yeah. Wow, the things you forget. Yeah, well, Big Red, 664K. I'm not interested. He's got a 0.96 ppm, but I don't know if you guys remember owning him. Now, you held him for ages, Brownie. I remember that. And it starts to get a bit annoying because he does have this slight value trajectory, but he also doesn't score in those premium tiers consistently enough. So you find yourself wanting that higher score or seeing that I still got 20, 30K left to make. And he's at that stage right now. So right now, if you bought into him, I think he'd hover around this price, likely get selected for Origin. And
yeah, he did me so well last year because everyone hopped off him while holding Hosking. But I did the reverse. I hopped off Hosking. Hosking started pulling up his 30s and low 40s, whereas Horsburgh was still kicking ass, taking 50s.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I don't know how this paid off, but fair enough.
Yeah, I remember you did that, and I thought you were so stupid for making that call. But I was like, yes, I'm going to catch him. Yeah, I was one of those that held Hosking.
I still like it how he talks about how he's going to catch us when he was like the high 20,000s.
I'm going to catch you with this one player. I'm going to catch you.
Boys, it's a different year. I've been studying all preseason. I'm finally present again. I just love that you guys are looking over the top here, underestimating me because I'm just going to come. I'm going to be literally this all season. Oi, boys, can you tell me what the weather's like down there? That's going to be me all year.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
I just feel like we let it slide. We've got to talk about Jai saying that he's never tasted his team.
That person's never tasted my team.
I mean, two things here. Who has been tasting Jai's team?
Herbie Farnworth, paying half.
Secondly, what kind of terrible New Zealand Welshman statement is that?
Right.
Look, you see, the thing with my brain is, fellas, is that words just come out. I just happen to make them work. If anyone wants to taste my team, you're more than happy to taste it. I have different flavors. I have a Cleary combo, but I prefer the. Oh no, I'm not going to say.
I'll have the Cleary.
You cannot talk your way out of this one. It's just terrible.
I'll have the Cleary and Huss with a side of EO, please. That'd be nice.
Yeah, nice. That's a tasty team.
Yum.
Definitely don't avoid Haas. That's too vanilla. I tasted that last year and it sucked.
That was sour. Yeah. That wasn't vanilla. That was just sour.
Oh, yeah. Someone left the yogurt outside the fridge and I took a spoonful. That's what happened with Haas last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I've grown up with 17 years experience and I can still make stupid calls like that. Is there anyone else in this team that we even like? Like, I'm not interested in anyone.
Tarpany's your only other real big in that I think deserves looking
at airtime.
But ultimately, he is just so expensive.
Yeah. Compared to the other options, like we're looking at Joseph Tarpany, 726K, or you can just pay, what is it, $12,000 more and get Isaiah Yeo. Like,
I think it's 60 more, but that's right.
Oh, is Isaiah Yeo that expensive? I wouldn't know because I've just got that many guns in my team at the moment. I'm just having a look. No, 738. Yeah.
Oh, you were right. I'm so sorry. Wow.
Right. Always know my numbers, except with Haas. And yeah, it's only 12K less. So why go to Tarpany is my argument. If you can go to Yo, or if you can go to Couchman, or if you can go to Tino, there's no point. So I think Tarpany is priced at his peak. We also see this with Tarpany a lot, is he starts to starts very slow, loses value, and has typically in the past been perfect Origin representation.
Except for last year. Last year when he came out cranking and then he finished slower because it felt like the whole coaching side of it, they changed up their whole strategy. It seemed like we're going to get him to have a fast start, give us a great platform, let's go hard, and then we'll start managing his minutes. You remember when everyone was trying to jump off Tapani because he was getting managed, he was getting all sorts of rubbish minutes, and his PPM was still fine, but he was still languishing in that sort of like low 50s because he just kept getting managed. So whether or not they do the same thing it remains to be seen. Yeah, I have too many kind of worries that, what we saw last year is going to be similar. So yeah, you could jump on early, you could pot him. He's only 4.5% owned. So if you weren't interested in Yo, you could go for Tapani, grab him and then see what happens and does he go off early like he did last year? Or do they revert back? There's something to be said, though, when they've got brand new halves and do they play Tapani for longer? Do they have the captain on for longer because they need him there to help steady the ship and he's leading the team? I could see a world where they do something similar to last year. And then as the team settles, maybe they manage his minutes more as the season goes on. That's definitely been on my mind, and whether or not he's someone to look at as a sneaky pod instead of, say, a Tino or a Yo.
I have not considered Tapani at all at the price point, but you make a good case for it. Especially he doesn't have a buy until round 11, so it's not like you have any of that gap in between. I think it'll depend a lot on how the bench is set out, and I'm really worried about a lot of teams in their forward rotations this year with the 6-man bench. So, does that incentivize Ricky Stewart to play Joseph Tapani for longer minutes? Does it incentivize Ricky Stewart to play Tapani for longer minutes just because there's a junior half in the team? I don't know. I think they've also got quite a big forward pack. I think what would tell me a lot is the rookies that may get included occasionally on the bench. Because I think Ricky Stewart made a mistake last year. He took all of his players away from regular first grade minutes in the back end of the season, and then they get to finals footy and they're underdone. I think what he should have done was maybe look to integrate a rookie for 2 games in a row, rest a player, and then just go full ham in the run home. So I don't know if we'll see the same strategy again. Do you have anything to say on that one there, Brownie?
The only time I'd consider Tapani, if you're worried you got too many Origin players in your side currently, and I know Origin's 12 rounds away, right? You don't really have to focus on it too much to start with, but when it comes sniffing around Origin time, I mean, if you've got, say, Haas, Yo in your front line, and you're like, man, I don't know what to do. Let's say you got Toby Couchman as well. Let's say Couchman gets a surprise gig for New South Wales, and you've got all 3 who are playing for New South Wales, and you're like, man, I've got no depth. You could then pick up Tapani, who has a pretty good run through Origin, and then offload him after Origin. So that's the only time really I would consider him. But to start with him at the price point he is, there's not much value. We don't know how the minutes rotation, as you said, from the bench is going to impact him now with 6 players to consider, not just 4, obviously with the 4 interchanges.
There's a concern I've had now, Dan, just talking about this. We don't know what players are eligible for Origin. We already had the 6-man bench increase, so we were perceivably going to have less gun value around anyway. Now, not only do we have less gun value, we have no idea who's going to play Origin this year. Do we have to pay more attention to this Origin period? Or is it something that instead do we change strategy? So I think it's something we got to touch on, because I learned from last year that spending trades early to get the right team is the way to go. But if we get to Origin period this year, there's more players selected to play Origin. There is more ethnicities and nationalities and tier 1 countries that are now available for the selection pool for both Queensland and New South Wales. Theoretically, it's going to put more question marks over more players, but it also gives us an opportunity to take some opportunity in guns that may have not been there previously. For argument's sake, Aden Fanua-Blake gets selected in at prop, and now we know for sure Terrell May is going to be playing over the Origin period for us in the NRL competition, something like that. do we need to be cautious with trades early? Because if we do gun the trades early to get the right team and to get the value, and then we have to use trades to fix up our team over the Origin buy period, we are going to have to take an L in the run home. So I think it's something that no one could have perceived it happening this way until the news came out that the eligibility rules had changed. And now all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Like right on this podcast, I'm like, that's a worry. Do you guys have the same worry?
No.
Really?
I don't.
No.
And mostly because there's so much information that comes out in like month out, 6 weeks out of players potentially putting their hand up and both teams kind of sniffing around different players and figuring things out. And then they'll have like, pre-trainings and all that. I think there's definitely enough information. You think of Carraz last year, people who were buying in Carraz before Magic Round and everyone was saying, oh, he's right in the mix for Origin, and he was, and people took a risk. I was one of them, and it paid off. And ultimately, too, when you're looking at some of the players now that have the new eligibility, it's actually not as many as you think it is. It's way, way less. So ultimately, some of the big dogs that we have typically relied on during Origin because they weren't eligible is AFB, Nikora, like the teams that were named last year, as well as the Kangaroos. How many of those players would you actually drop for any of the newly eligible players? There's not too many.
Yeah.
And so what you might find is only, Nikora or AFB, they might end up actually only making it to the wider bench, which is no different to them being part of like the squad as an 18th man. So I don't actually think we need to worry too much, and I don't think it's big enough to change your strategy. Your strategy is still going to be get the best hashies on the field as early as possible, and like we did last year, pivot real early and hard to get players like this year's Humphreys or those kinds of players. I still think that is absolutely number one.
Yeah, maybe what needs to happen then is just a bit of a background check. Like maybe I'll just spend some time in the preseason just going around to see if any sites have updated who's actually eligible for Queensland and New South Wales across the board, just so we know the talent pool that's been looked at.
And there's been quite a few just recently in the last couple of days.
Cool.
There's quite a few that have been published.
The only two people I see playing Origin from this new list that's come out of players who are now eligible is AFB for New South Wales and Nikora for Queensland.
Agree.
Queensland.
Now you're like Nikora all of a sudden. See, that's just such conditional love.
I'm still off him. He plays for a crap team. So they're the only two players that I can really see having a go of it this year.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The talent pool is now going to be wider, which means that if there is more form, we're going to need to keep an eye on more players. So I'm just I think you're right. I think that the strategy at the end of the day doesn't change, but I think I do need to just spend some time on who these players are going to be so I can monitor their form through the year and just be like, because we've also got to look at the other side of this coin is that opportunity is going to rise now. If there's different players selected, different players step up, different minutes will increase, dependencies. I think that's why I'm freaking out because I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. I've only just sorted this possibly being an issue. Last thing I want to do is save all my trades early again and chase everyone for 20 rounds. That was annoying.
I don't see it as a massive issue. I think players who played last year, they're going to get the shoe in to get first shot.
Yeah.
I mean, New South don't get Origin, so.
Yeah,
I mean, if I was Laurie Daly, I mean, I'd be scounging for any players I could get, really.
We could just go through the ethnicities of the Queensland side last year and just basically say, well, the eligibility must have been okay for them in 2025 because there's a lot of people. If you look at, have you seen the media posts about where certain players have come from that play for Queensland?
There's a reason why it's coming to New Zealand next year.
Yeah, I reckon too. But I think at the same time,
Queensland are going to see it as a home game.
Yeah. They'd be stuffed without it, to be honest, because to be honest, we should never lose. The New South Wales team should never lose. Our talent pool is massive compared to Queensland. Like I went through to check last year just to be like, oh, who do I need to watch out for? And I'm going, when are we going to get to Queensland's eligibility? And then it was just like 5 names. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we still lose. So, this might be the year where I buy a Maroons jersey. Just kidding. That's disrespectful.
Oh, yes, very good.
I will point out that Kenty's wearing a blue polo, so that's foreshadowing the series this year.
No, man. This is Waz blue. It's called This Is Our Year blue.
All right, fellas. Let's wrap it up. Do you have anything else to talk about on these Raiders?
God, no.
No. Oh, it's probably something I've brought up, but we'll let it go.
Wish you could tell us how you really felt, Brownie.
Well,
follow Brownie's breakdown. Follow Blindside NRL. Follow Kenty's market moves. And we'll see you on the next one.
Up the Waz.
up the storm.